Belisarius Cawl, also known as the Prime Conduit of the Omnissiah, is an Archmagus Dominus of the Adeptus Mechanicus who is at present one of the oldest beings known to still be active within the Imperium of Man. Cawl himself is known to be somewhat of a divisive figure, both within the Martian Priesthood and the greater Imperium at large, for while many have praised the Archmagos for being both a visionary and a genius, others by contrast regard him as an untrustworthy, manipulative, and ultimately power-hungry individual. In either case, Cawl himself has played a key role in numerous historical events, for not only did he help bring about the return of the Ultramarines Primarch Rabute Guilliman, but he was also the primary architect behind what will become known within official records as the Primaris Project. This latter endeavour would not only result in the creation of Primaris Marines, beings whose size, strength and durability exceeds even that of a typical Space Marine, but an assortment of new weapons, vehicles and armour would be developed for this new breed of transhuman warrior to use in battle. There are even rumours suggesting that Cawl's connection to the Adeptus Astartes does not end nor even begin there, for some claim that the Magos had aided none other than the Emperor of Mankind in creating the very first Space Marines, with Cawl himself being supposedly responsible for the successful development of the Black Carapace, an organ implant that allows an Astartes warrior to interface with their power armor at a neurological level. However, some maintain that the Magos, in truth, had no involvement whatsoever in such events, and that any knowledge that Cawl had regarding the physiology of Space Marines came as a result of him effectively downloading and integrating the memories of a scientist named Ezekiel Sedain, a man who worked under the tutelage of the legendary geneticist Amar Astarte, into his own psyche. Whatever the truth may be, Cawl is himself incapable of verifying such claims, for the Archmagos has been confirmed to have undergone several mind-wiping procedures during his lifetime. While this has robbed Cawl of a majority of his own personal memories, much of the knowledge he has acquired, ranging from seemingly inconsequential census data from the time of the Great Crusade to the schematics and blueprints of long-lost and forgotten technologies, has managed to survive the passage of time. Indeed, the wealth of information drawn from Cawl's mind is so vast that it can be described as a literal mountain of knowledge, with the resulting data stacks and hard drives being capable of filling a vault the size of a battlecruiser to capacity. While Belisarius Cawl may seek to ultimately break the cycle of technological stagnation that has long since plagued humanity, the overly strict religious doctrines and beliefs of the Adeptus Mechanicus dictate that such actions are both blasphemous and an affront to the machine god itself. After all, the very act of creation, in the eyes of the Mechanicus, is a divine act, one that lies solely within the purview of the machine god, and that any attempt to alter or improve upon the machine god's design is tantamount to heresy. This then leads to an important question. Is Belisarius Cawl simply an innovative pioneer when it comes to new technologies, or is he in fact nothing more than a heretic? Initially, it would appear that Cawl is indeed a heretic, as by far the most common crime of those deemed to be heretics is that of technological innovation and experimentation. The overwhelming majority of technologies constructed by the Adeptus Mechanicus, and by extension the Imperium, are done so by strictly adhering to the blueprints and schematics found within standard template constructs, or STCs for short, which are considered to be fonts of knowledge bestowed unto humanity by the machine god itself. So valuable are these STCs that the Adeptus Mechanicus will go to almost any length to acquire them, especially on the off chance that one will contain the plans for a piece of technology that has long been considered lost to humanity. One notable example, as detailed within the novel First and Only, came circa 775 M41, in where a team of Astra Militarum scouts discovered an STC containing the design for, of all things, a steel blade, one which was noticeably sharper, tougher, and lighter than those being utilized by the Imperial military at the time. As a reward for their discovery, the Scouts, now being lauded as heroes by the Imperium, would each be gifted with an entire planet to rule over in whatever manner they saw fit, while the blade itself would be incorporated into the armories of over 30 Space Marine chapters. While it is possible that the new weapons, vehicles and armor developed by Cawl for the Adeptus Astartes were indeed designs of his own making, there is evidence to suggest that such designs could have been derived from standard template constructs. Indeed, according to the 9th edition Adeptus Mechanicus Codex, Cawl was stated to have uncovered scores of STCs during his lifetime. Because of this, it's entirely reasonable to assume that most, if not all, of the technologies innovated by Cawl were in fact derived from the STCs that the Archimagos had obtained over the past 10,000 years. After all, some of the vehicles developed by Cawl for the Primaris project, such as the Impulsor and Repulsor, appear to share a similar chassis and hull design with more contemporary Astartes tanks, such as the Rhino, Vindicator, and Predator, with the only major difference being the incorporation of anti-gravity generators in place of traditional tank treads. Alternatively, perhaps Cawl is instead only making minor modifications to pre-existing STCs when developing new weapons and armor, similar to how Arkan Land, quite possibly the greatest technological mind in Mechanicus history, did when he was tasked by the Emperor himself with creating an array of new grav tanks for his own Custodian Guard. This would not only result in the development of new tanks such as the Caladius and Coronas, but also grav variants of extant vehicles such as the Land Raider and Rhino. If Cawl is operating in a similar manner, then his actions could be deemed as perfectly acceptable, even if they do stress the tolerance and patience of the Martian Priesthood to its absolute limits. This idea is also loosely supported within the novel The Great Work, in where Cawl himself is described by others as being a borderline heretic, suggesting that his innovative ways are indeed tolerated by the Adeptus Mechanicus, albeit barely. But then again, it is important to note that the aforementioned Mechanicus Codex also states, unequivocally, that Cawl has invented dozens of new weapons, presumably for use within the Primaris project. Because Cawl is stated outright to have invented dozens of new weapons, this would appear to insinuate that such tech was born of his own ingenuity, as opposed to being derived or modified from a standard template construct. As well as this, Cawl would also go on to develop a highly advanced communication system known as the Cawl Inferior, which boasts an incredibly sophisticated virtual intelligence of its own. While the Cawl Inferior is officially a virtual intelligence with character traits based upon Cawl's own personality, some have speculated, given its propensity to have what can only be described as emotional outbursts, that the Cawl Inferior is, in actuality, a true artificial intelligence. If this were indeed the case, then Cawl would indeed be guilty of committing one of the greatest technological crimes known to humanity. During the Dark Age of technology, the Men of Iron, a series of truly intelligent robotic constructs, would rebel against their human masters, leading to an apocalyptic conflict known as the Cybernetic Revolt, a war on a scale so vast that it will make the later events of the Horus Heresy seem almost insignificant by comparison. In the wake of this conflict, which saw humanity emerge as the victors, the use of artificial intelligences would be outlawed throughout human space, with such entities being known henceforth as abominable intelligences. So if Cawl is indeed a heretic, due to him not only committing the crime of innovation, but also making use of an artificial intelligence, then how is it that he is yet to be excommunicated by the Adeptus Mechanicus? There are two main possibilities in this regard. The first of which is that the Mechanicus has simply decided to turn a blind eye to Cawl's heretical escapades. While this may at first seem somewhat unlikely, It's worth remembering that Cawl is not only an immense repository of knowledge unto himself, but the Magos has also recovered countless STCs for the Martian Priesthood over the course of his long life. As a result, it's likely that the Mechanicus simply finds it more convenient and, for want of a better term, profitable to tolerate Cawl's actions rather than to denounce him as a heretic. Alternatively, perhaps the reason as to why Cawl is yet to be declared a heretic is simply due to his association with the most politically powerful man within the entire Imperium, a man who is not only the Lord Commander of all its military assets, but one who also serves as its current ruling regent, Rabute Guilliman. After all, Guilliman was the man who had commissioned Cawl to undertake the Primaris project in the first place, due to the Primarch following in the wake of the Horus Heresy, wishing to develop a contingency plan should the Imperium ever again be threatened with its complete and total annihilation. Because Cawl was tasked by none other than Guilliman himself of undertaking the Primaris project, developing not only improved and more stable gene seed stocks, but also arming these new warriors accordingly, this would in itself afford the Magos with a substantial amount of political protection. Indeed, who would dare claim that Cawl's actions, which were not only sanctioned by a Primarch, a son of the God Emperor himself who would go on to become essentially the de facto Emperor of the modern day Imperium, were in any way, shape or form heretical? While the tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus do not worship the Emperor in the same way that other Imperial citizens do, due to their religion focusing more on the veneration of the machine god, many within the Martian Priesthood view the Emperor as being synonymous with a religious figure known as the Omnissiah, the physical manifestation of the machine god itself, although this view is by no means universal. Because Guilliman would be regarded by many tech priests as being the son of the Omnissiah, then this fact alone could very well result in Cawl's acts of innovation being deemed not only acceptable, but even divinely ordained to a certain extent. In either case, it's likely that Cawl will continue with his experiments to innovate and improve upon the technological designs at humanity's disposal. But as to whether or not the Magos will ever be punished for such wanton blasphemy against the tenets of the Cult Mechanicus, only time will tell. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.